All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Parent Empowerment Institute. My name is Shavella Bonner, and I am the program coordinator for this program. So for those of you who are joining us via Facebook Live, we thank you and we welcome you to our program. Just to give a little bit of background, this program was started from our agency's strategic plan. And it was one of our goals to reduce, it's towards one of our goals to reduce the number of children that are in care. And we also want to foster better relationships with the families in the community. And so we wanted to try something that is a little preventative in nature. And so we wanted to be able to provide families with resources, information, strategies, techniques, various things that they can use in everyday life that will strengthen the family. We can all be honest and say that every family experiences life. I like to say as a mother, children do not come with to-do books attached to the umbilical cord. And you're going to experience problems and challenges. And so this program is for everyone. We have some people that participate with Parent Empowerment Institute that had previous involvement with our agency, current involvement, and no involvement at all, because that is one thing that we all have in common. Every family is going to experience difficulties and challenges. And so we wanted to be able to provide support to the families in the community. As we are coming out of the global pandemic, we have been allowed to utilize technology. And some people may not care for technology because you can't replace that human connection, right? But one of the things that I really appreciate about technology is you can do the things that we are doing now. You can talk about things that are a little sensitive. You can come into a place and find support and speak freely and openly without, having to reveal who you are. For those of you who are in our platform, we're actually in Zoom. We purposely utilize the speaker presenter mode. That is for two reasons. One, we want to allow our speaker of the hour the opportunity to present with minimum interruptions. And then we also wanted individuals who are inside the platform to feel more comfortable to ask some of those questions, because let's face it, sometimes it's hard to say, I need help. And so we have the video as well as the audio disabled. And we do want people to be able to engage. So we utilize the chat function, and those chats will come to me, and they're not visible to other people in the platform. And so hopefully in this environment, people feel a little bit more safe to ask questions. Again, we operate under three primary pillars. We talk about advocacy, we talk about legal, and then we talk about our current topical area, which is resources and support. And I don't know if you guys realize, but it is International Women's Month. And so, and to kind of honor that, I thought that it would be great to have some phenomenal women who are in the area of empowering and building up women. And that is not to say, because men, we love y'all too, okay? But we got y'all coming up for some phenomenal programming around Father's Day. But we want to talk about self-care and wellness. And a lot of these principles and practices can also be applied to men as well. So with that being said, welcome, welcome, welcome. On behalf of the executive team at Lucas County Children's Services, as well as our planning committee for the Parent Empowerment Institute, we welcome you. I'm so very excited for our session today. Another thing with technology that I have an appreciation, we are able to connect with people that may not be in our area, our local area. And sometimes that's okay as well. And so our speaker today is actually a really good friend of mine. And I have worked with her in the past. And so I know that she is very well versed in not only child welfare, but social services, and most importantly, building up women and strengthening families. And so we have Miss Angie Gordon. Hey. And so I also believe that we as individuals, we share our story better than anyone. So I like to allow our speakers to be able to do their own introduction. And so I'm going to actually turn the program over to Angie. She will do her intro and then she'll go right into her presentation. For those of you who are in the platform, please, please, please utilize the chat. And then those of you who are on the Facebook Live, you can utilize the comment section. I will not be on the screen, but I am still here and I will be monitoring both of those areas, and I will let Angie know when we have comments and or questions. So welcome, Angie.
Thank you. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me all the way from the West Coast. It's super early over here. It's 7:08 over here, but I'm up and ready to go. I could hardly sleep because I was so excited to share what I have to share with you all today. So before I dive in to my presentation, I actually have an introduction slide in the presentation. So I'll just kind of go in order, but just some housekeeping things. As Shabella mentioned, the chat function is open. And so my presentation is interactive. I'm going to be asking you questions. And so Shabella and I can see your responses. So make sure, even though everybody else can't see, I need y'all to interact. Okay, I need for you to, when I ask you to jump in and comment or put a 1 if you, whatever, yes or no, whatever that is, I want y'all to go ahead and put that in the chat because it really is going to guide my presentation and just make it more engaging. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, and then Shabella, once now that I'm sharing my screen, it's going to be a little difficult for me to see those questions, or when I ask questions.
I can see them.
Yeah, so if you can just jump in there, and we're going to, I want you to ask questions along the way. So we don't have to wait till the end. We can ask questions along the way, and feel free to just jump in and stop me if you need to. All right, let's get started. So what I wanted to talk about today is creating normalcy and reasonable parenting, and what that looks like no matter if you are an intact family, if you are a parent or a guardian of a foster child that's been placed with you, or even if you don't have any kids with you right now, but you know that you'll have some coming soon. What does that look like? And what does it mean to be reasonable when we're parenting our kids? What we're gonna do, this is my little homegirl, Ashley. She's happy to see y'all. This is the agenda for today. I'm gonna do my introduction. Gonna kind of reflect. We're gonna go back to when we were kids, right? And talk about what was normal for us. We're gonna define normalcy. I'm gonna do my best not to make that boring, and I'm gonna give you a textbook, version, but I wanna make sure we make it relatable. We're gonna talk about the benefits of normalcy, when to introduce activities to your kids, what are reasonable parenting considerations, impacts of technology and social media. I'm going to spend some time here because I think it's a good conversation to talk about that technology and social media. There's a lot of opinions about that. And so I really want to impart some knowledge to you there. We'll talk about activities that create normalcy. And then we're going to go through some scenarios. I came up with 3 scenarios, time willing. That if we have enough time, we'll go through all 3. If not, I'll just pick 1 or 2. But we're going to go through some scenarios and kind of talk about it in the chat. And I want to get your feedback about how we would handle these things, what our concerns would be moving forward. All right, so my intro. So I'm a mommy of 4. I always make that my first thing. People would have come out the gate with all these accolades, but I'm a mommy of 4. I come to you with this topic, very transparent. I am a single mom. I was a mom very young, at 19. I know it could have been younger, but it also could have been older. So, but I have my first child at 19. She is now, my 2 oldest ones are adults and graduated college and out of the house. And then I have 2 middle school students that are home with me. But even with that, I had some issues with a couple of my kids, and one in particular, where I kind of struggled with creating normalcy in the house just because life was happening at the same time. And I was a single parent and didn't have that sounding board and that support for someone to be able to help me make decisions. And it was difficult. I went through divorce. I went through a very abusive relationship. I went through depression. But all while I'm going through all of those things, I am excelling because I was kind of like a functioning depressed person. So I was going through life and I was having all of these challenges. I was having major struggles parenting my kids. And one child in particular who was on the verge of dropping out of school, had a 1.8 GPA and was on the verge of dropping out of school. And I was not winning at all. In the middle of all that, I'm excelling in my career in social services, working. I started off as an office assistant and worked my way up to a regional manager. I went back to school as an adult, got my bachelor's degree, went back again, decided to get my master's degree in educational counseling, decided to further my skill set and become a certified life coach. But then I decided I got all this stuff, but I'm still struggling. I'm struggling as a parent. People really knew what I was going through, especially working in social services where I'm in charge of leading the charge of securing the safety of children and families. They'd be like, girl, what are you doing? Because your home is in shambles. And it took some work for me to get there. I classify myself as a certified barrier breaker. I believe in breaking barriers. There's no judgment. We all have barriers that cause us to have certain challenges and things in our lives. And so working in social services and in counseling, and then even life coaching, it allows me to work with women from all different, I focus on women in my coaching and in my counseling, but work for women from all over the globe to be able to help them break those barriers so that they're successful. And I'm a hope specialist. Even through all of it, I think that what has helped serve me well is that even in the darkest times, even in the most difficult and challenging times, I always will see a glimmer of hope. And I do my best to try to share that with those that I speak to and that God kind of puts in my path so that I'm able to just keep people encouraged and know this too shall pass. It doesn't matter, what types of things that challenges we've had, some poor decisions maybe that we've made, we still get the opportunity each day to turn things around. And so we always lean on hope. Hope for me stands for hold on, possibilities exist. If you're taking notes, write that down. Hold on, possibilities exist. That has really kept me pushing forward through all of the challenges and things that I've had. So that's a brief introduction about myself. We're going to go ahead and dive into the presentation. I want to talk about a flashback. When you all are thinking about your childhood, what activities and experiences made your childhood, quote unquote, normal? I want you to drop it in the chat. And if you had a difficult childhood and you're like, listen, my childhood wasn't normal, wasn't nothing normal about what was happening during, my childhood, that's okay. You thought about it. You looked around, at other kids and you thought about if I could, I would want this type of situation for myself. Or you, as an adult, when you had your own family, you decided I'm going to create this type of normal for my kids. Um, Share with me in the chat. What are some activities and experiences that made your childhood normal? And Shavella, I need you.
I got you. I'm watching both the Facebook as well as the chat. So guys, go ahead and drop those things. Not normal, but being with friends to comfort me, one person said. Another person said playing with my brothers and sisters outside, tag,
Tag.
with explanation points.
Who plays tag anymore?
Sunday dinners. I know I don't see kids playing tag. I know for me, playing outside, we used to double dutch.
Yes. I can't double dutch anymore, but yes. So thank you for sharing.
Said, yes, double dutch. Yes, we had the double dutch going on.
I used to double dutch all the time. And if you, I cannot just, don't tag me in. Don't tag me in anymore. It's not going to work. I'm going to mess up the ropes. So thank you for sharing that. So yes, so friends, spending time with family, playing outside, as you get older, sports, getting in activities, and sports and those sorts of things. Once you get old enough to do that, participating in school activities, those are the types of things that make life normal for kids. So I want to go into what is normalcy. So it's interesting because there actually is a federal definition of what normalcy is, and they talk about it in Children and Family Services parenting standards. So I wanted to share just a couple of textbook definitions of what normalcy is. So the Juvenile Law Center writes that normalcy is ensuring a child's range of experiences while in foster care is typical of the range of experiences of any child of the same age. They feel it's important for children to practice the skills they will need as an adult while they are still in a protected environment. And these experiences help them build relationships, develop skills, and prepare for adulthood, right? So allowing our kids to participate in activities and have these experiences, whether they're biological or not. Normalcy even applies to parents, or I'm sorry, to teachers, to educators, youth advisors, right? The point is we're trying to create, as adults and as the village, if you will, an experience for a child, no matter their background, to help them be able to navigate the world better once they become adults. The Center for the Study of Social Policy's definition of normalcy focuses on activities that promote well-being. So some benefits of normalcy: provide skills that everyone needs to succeed in life. It also builds resilience and reduces the negative after effects of trauma. And then it also builds a child's social network. So when we talk about those after effects of trauma, and I got to tell you, I have a lot of my presentation and material, it is going to be kind of geared towards kids that are placed. So I want to give that disclaimer, but I think that it also relates to anybody like me in my situation. My kids had some trauma that was unintentional, even though they weren't placed and weren't removed from the home. And so when we have kids that are dealing with trauma, and trauma can be even something as simple as divorce, it affects the kids. but we need them to be able to build resilience, and we need to be able to still create a safe space for them, regardless of what the trauma is. And the easiest way to do that is to build their social network and to kind of check in with the kids and see what's going on with them when they're at home, and even creating spaces for them outside of the household. Introducing activities. Okay, so we have different ways that we can introduce activities to our kids. Child, so a child requests to participate in an activity, friend, or a sport, right? And so child, that means the child's coming directly to you and it's like, hey, I'm interested in doing X, Y, and Z. Will you allow me to do this? Secondly, it's a parent and being initiated, or a parent initiated to be proactive. So we want to teach our kids something, right? So we realize age appropriate. Now we have a 15-year-old and they need to learn how to drive. Or maybe, it's an 18-year-old and they haven't learned yet, but we know this is something that they need to have under their belt before they go out here in the real world. I don't want them to have to worry about taking the bus or asking people for rides or that sort of thing, riding the bus late at night. So I'm going to be proactive and I'm going to teach them how to drive. And then another one is parent initiated out of concern. And I included this one because sometimes we're concerned about the activities, or we see some behaviors in kids and we're like, "Ooh, you don't have a problem." And so I need I need to help you, deal with that. And so we will access resources that will mitigate a concern. So an example I gave is for like birth control. If we have a young lady, um, that we see sometimes that is maybe there's already starting to be sexually active, or you see them paying attention to boys and it's kind of excessive, and you're working on fixing the behavior, but in the meantime I want to be able to mitigate the outcome of possibly a teenage pregnancy happening. Maybe I need to consider birth control for this child, and just be proactive. So it's an activity. It's an uncomfortable one. It's one we don't like to talk about, but it's something that we really have to consider, in reasonable parenting of kids and meeting every kid where they're at when they come across our path. So just some considerations, um, and kind of questions to ask ourselves along the way. Um, Whatever it is, whether it's parent initiated, whether it is initiated by the child, whether you're being proactive or whatever the situation might be, is it age appropriate? So, whatever the child is asking to do, is it something that's age appropriate, or is going to be other kids participating that's their age and that sort of thing? And if not, then maybe we need to reconsider. Are there risks? When we talk about sports, I've seen where a lot of parents are concerned, especially if the child is placed, because we don't want them to get hurt and we don't want them to get hurt under our care. And so sometimes it will cause us to say no, instead of maybe reconsidering what things can we put in place, to make sure that we can mitigate the risk or reduce the risk. Is the child interested, right? Is the child interested in participating in a certain thing? Maybe they haven't said anything, but you notice that they really like music. They haven't asked to participate in a music class, but they're over there bobbing their head. You take them to church and they're always on the piano, or they always want to sing. You turn on music and they're immediately dancing. So you're tuned into the child and you see they have certain interests, and maybe it would be good for me to get them involved in something. Safety is another concern that we would want to consider. Is this going to be a safe activity? Or we're at the lake and we went with a family and we went to the lake and everybody's swimming in the lake, but my child wants to swim too, but they don't know how to swim in the lake. Do I want to let them get in the water or not? You know, things like that, being proactive and thinking about those things. Will it have a positive impact on the child and the family, right? It's sometimes it's not just about thinking about the kid, but is this going to impact the family? Is this an opportunity for us all to participate in something that's going to bring us together, and just create some memories, even if it's for a short time? And is it quote unquote a normal activity? And so, like y'all dropped in the chat, right? Like hanging out with friends. I have a new friend at school. They invited me over to their house. They're having a birthday party this weekend. You know, is that a normal activity? So then to the right, I just have some other thoughts, and I want you all to be thinking about these three things when we start going over scenarios and having a deeper conversation. What are the benefits? Whatever the activity is, what are the benefits of the participation in the activity? What are your concerns? Because we're going to have them as parents. And is there anything we can do or put in place to reduce or to eliminate the concerns? Working in social services and even being a parent. I used to be the no parent. Drop a one if your default is to go to no. And then drop a two if your default is to go to yes in the chat. So
We have someone that says one, then two, one.
Yeah, I'm a one then. I like that. A one then two.
Oh yeah, straight to no. I think I'm the two parent.
So I feel like I've transitioned, but I've transitioned with much practice and being very intentional. Um, but my default will always be a no, whether it was because I was tired and it involved my labor in order to get my kids to the event. Sometimes it was a no just because I was unfamiliar, you know, with the activity or the people that were going to be involved in the activity. And I was like, I don't feel like it. Sometimes it was a no because maybe my kid hasn't been on the best behavior, right? And so maybe they just haven't been doing everything. They didn't clean up their room. They were acting janky when they came home from school the other day. I think I just gave away my age because I said janky. Does anybody say janky? I don't know if anybody says janky anymore, but they were acting real messy when they came home and had a real, I call it teenager-ish, had a real teenager-ish attitude. And so I don't want to let you go to that function or, you know, participate in your regularly scheduled activities this time because I don't like your attitude. You've been disrespectful or what have you. And so I tended to early in my parenting, because remember, I was a young parent, right? And so some of it was kind of insecurity on my part. That is something that parents don't like to talk about, how our insecurities and our own upbringings impact how we then parent our own kids, right? Or even if we're a part of someone else's village, how we interact with kids within our village, right? And so I encourage you to kind of explore, what is your motivation behind you saying no? Does it fall into one of these categories? Or are you just saying no to say no because you don't feel like it? I invite you to explore your motivation for saying no, especially if you can acknowledge that you say no often, right? And you can acknowledge, take a look around and see your kid. Do you see that they're home a lot and they're not participating in a lot of activities, or they seem down a lot? That's a major indicator that there should be some more engagement. with our kids. When you see depression kind of setting in, sometimes it's chemical, right? And so we know that, and it's a chemical imbalance in the brain when we're dealing with depression and anxiety and some of those things. But sometimes we can mitigate it. And so we have an opportunity to really, as parents and as guardians, to instead of saying no, think about what our concerns are, right? Think about what our motivation is. And if there is anything that we can do to mitigate those concerns, then let's put those things in place instead of saying no. And let's make sure that we're having a conversation with the kids. And I know with my generation and my parents' generation, we don't have conversations with kids. This is a concept that I had to learn, right? Because when I was growing up, my parents weren't having a conversation with me. It was a yes or a no. And I said no, and I said what I said, and keep it pushing. We're done with the conversation. But that's actually not the best way to engage a child. And it's especially not the best way to engage a child if you know that they are um, on the after effects of going through some sort of trauma, which is the case a lot of times when we're dealing with children that were in placement or placed back home. There was trauma. We got to engage the kids, right? And so I just really encourage you. I kind of get on my soapbox about this, I know, but that's my background. We have to change our mindsets about how we engage our kids. We have to allow them the three pillars, even for family services is advocacy, legal, and current. And we have to teach our kids, I talk about this all the time, about how to advocate for themselves. And it starts at home. And it starts with creating a space for them to be able to express themselves. And it also starts with you having the conversations with your kids about it's a no, but let me explain to you why. Do we have any more comments in the chat?
We do. We had someone put the like the glory hands up, like
Praise
like
them.
in agreement. We had someone comment that that's so true. And we just recently had a comment that says, it seems like today's children want to do so much every day. Just thinking about it makes you tired sometimes.
Oh, you're right, because my kids keep me busy, keep me busy. And then figuring out what things, you're going to allow them to do or not do. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in these upcoming slides. I'm glad you mentioned that. So keep these three things in mind. Benefits. What are the benefits? What are the concerns? And is there anything we can put in place to reduce or eliminate the concerns instead of just saying no? Okay. All right, I want to talk about technology and social media. Put a 1 in the chat if you're tired of these kids and these cell phones and these TikToks and these challenges and them just having the phone stuck to their face all the time. And can I have a phone? And all of those things. We were saying earlier, we don't see kids go outside and play tag anymore. Because they're on these phones and playing video games. And so I actually have a really interesting perspective for you all. And I share this with you again from experience, not just as a parent, but working with other parents, and then also working with kids. And so I want to share a scenario or a situation with you happen in real time. So I have a student, right? And so I work in I've worked in higher ed as well and in K through 12. And so, with COVID, everything went virtual. And so kids were doing school from home. So I had a child who was placed and her guardian, her foster parent was a little bit older. And so she didn't really do all of this technology and social media stuff, right? So she's just like, I don't do all that. And in her mind, since I don't do all that, you don't do all that either, right? It's not necessary for you. And so every time the young lady, she has some behavioral issues at school. It wasn't anything horrible, like she wasn't getting suspended, but sometimes she would do a little talking back and stuff. And so it would cause her to have some, interaction with the teachers and things like that. But every time she would get in trouble, the default punishment would be, I'm going to take away your phone. Okay. And so she would take away her phone, but we're in the middle of COVID. They didn't really, she had like a little Chromebook, a little laptop thing, but sometimes it didn't work. Well, in this particular situation, the baby needed, and you'll hear me call kids the babies, the baby needed to be able to do her homework. But the guardian was making it very difficult because no, you can't have your phone, and her Chromebook wasn't working. Um, she needed her phone. She needed it and stuff done. So then you fast forward a month, time for progress reports. Progress reports come out, and guess what's happening? She's not passing her classes, right? She's having some challenges. She's had some missing assignments. Why did she have missing assignments? Because she couldn't do her homework at home because she kept getting in trouble because they kept taking away the phone and for her to be able to have the access. And then she got in trouble for that. So then it became a cycle. And so I bring this up because I have the challenge as well of how much access do I provide my children with having a cell phone and social media. And so after kind of dealing with it from as a parent with my own kids and dealing with it as an educator, helping other kids, um, and then also working with parents as well, I'm like, okay, here's the bottom line. This is my conclusion. Y'all ready? This is my conclusion. They need the technology. They are in a world that is different than ours was growing up, where it is not a privilege anymore. It is a necessity. I think when cell phones came out and pagers came out, I think I just gave away my age again. But when pagers came out when I was younger, and when I was in school, it was a privilege to be able to have a pager. And then it was a privilege if somebody, no kid had that big old block cell phone, but it was still a privilege. This new generation, it's no longer a privilege, it's a necessity. But where we get to come in as the parents is what parameters are we going to put in place, right? To make sure that they're not on there excessively, to make sure that they're not accessing social media platforms that we don't want them to access, or that people are that strangers and pedophiles and people that are seeking to hurt our kids aren't able to access our kids either. And so I just offer that to you. If you are a parent that typically is like, I'm taking the phone, you're not doing no social media, you're not doing this and that. I want you to just think about the bigger picture. So I'm going to share with you what I do with my kids. And I share this story because I had a situation where one of my kids, I have put some things in place on their cell phones. So in middle school, I put some I thought were good like parenting apps to put on their phone to block them. I even had a little app where I could block the amount of time that they were on the phone. So basically, like after 9:30 every night, their phone pretty much shut down. They couldn't text nobody. They couldn't go on social media. It would just kind of like shut down. Um, and so I have put some of those things in place. Well, my daughter found a workaround because she's smart and I should have known better. But she found a workaround and she was still accessing some things that I didn't want her to access. And she was staying up late, super late at night, and I didn't know, right? So she pulled out her phone, stay up super late at night and be chatting with people, on other different, I didn't even put all of the little applications on here. There's another one called Kik, K-I-K, that kids will use. So even though I had disabled text messages on her phone, she could still get in through the Wi-Fi and then access the Kik application and then send messages back and forth to her friends through the Kik application. And so she was doing that late at night when she's supposed to be getting her sleep for the next morning. So once I realized that, I was like, I thought I was doing some good parenting and being proactive, but she found some workarounds. Um, so what did I do? I called Apple. She has an iPhone. I called Apple. I said, listen, I see y'all have these parental and guidelines and all of these things, and clearly I'm not using it right. Tutor me, show me how to do this right. Here's what happened with my child. I thought I had set this up appropriately. Show me how to fix it. And so they did. They showed me how to fix it, how I could control everything from my phone to her Apple phone. And I was able to kind of shut down all of those, things that she was trying to do and find those workarounds. The other thing that I did is your phones get turned in at night. So 2 times. One, when you come home from school, your phone gets turned in. You turn it in over here on the little counter right here. Everybody drop their phones here. I don't want to hear nothing about it. You ain't talking to Susie, Joe, Keisha, nobody. Put it right here on this counter. Go do your homework, go do your chores, get it done. When you're done, you come back to me. I will make the decision on whether you can get on your phone and engage or not. Okay. Then when they come back to me, these are the things that you're able to do. And then I would allow them to access it. And I can do it from anywhere. I don't have to just be home, right? So if they walk home and I'm at work, I can still, update and release and allow them to do certain things or not do certain things from their phone. The other thing that I would do is I would change the Wi-Fi password. When it's chore time, Wi-Fi password has been changed. And I changed it to smart little passwords like get your chores done first. So that would be like the little password for them, like when they would finish their chores, I'm like, you're like, Mom, can I have the password? Sure. Get you. And then they're like, what's the password? Get your chores done first. No, I did my chores. No, that's the password. Just, I just need that subconscious situation going on where you understand who's controlling things here. So I say all of that to say, I just really want y'all to think about technology and social media, and not so much that we need to block it from the kids and not give them any access because they need it. Their parent or their teachers have them doing assignments where they need social media, or they might need access to the Wi-Fi. And we have to give them the latitude, even if we're having, some behavioral issues with the kids. We got to give them some latitude to access those things. And they need to learn how to use it sufficiently, because the jobs that they're going to be walking into is going to require them to understand technology and be adept in social media and different types of computer technology platforms. So to remove it from them is actually hindering them. But I just believe that on our end, it is our responsibility to make sure that we put appropriate parameters in place so that they can remain safe. Okay. What do y'all think about that? Type of 1 if you agree, or 2 if you kind of have another thought, and please share your thoughts.
So we have one person that said the phones and TV are the new parents, teaching kids unhealthy habits while parents are working or busy. And so that comment kind of came in as you were introducing your thoughts behind the technology and social media. But that is something that one person said. And then we do have a person put a 1. I think that how you explained it was actually really good, because these kids are growing up with it. And this is something that I always tell people: you have to, as the parent, you have to put those parameters in and use it as an opportunity to teach them about what is appropriate to share, what is, you see now they will put any and everything on social media. And so just teaching them how to be safe and not giving personal information and things like that. So again, it comes back to having those crucial conversations and discussions. And I also agree with you, Angie, when you were saying we grew up in a time where when our parents said no, that was the end of the discussion. And so nowadays, we have children where you actually have to kind of talk to them. You have to say, this is why I am saying you cannot do this, so that they will understand. And what was seen in the past as being disrespectful,
Mhm.
we now have a new generation where that engagement is really critical. And so I know with my last child, he was the one that was always questioning. And in the beginning, I'm like, why are you questioning me? I couldn't ask my mom things like that, but it taught me how to be a better parent in having those actual discussions. So great information, great information.
Absolutely. And so these kids, I say, I teach my kids, I tell them all the time, you need to advocate for yourself and you need to speak up. And then when they speak up, the little girl in me and how I was raised, like, oh no, she didn't say that to me. But I taught them to speak up and speak their mind. And the bottom line is, y'all, there are so many influences out here that is at our babies' fingertips. So we have to make sure that we are the first voice that they hear. We have to drop those nuggets and have those conversations, because in 3 seconds, they can click something on their phone and they have a whole nother set of information from somebody or some person across the world that you probably don't want them to have that information from. So you got to make sure that you are the voice, right, that your kids hear on a day to day. All right. I'm off my soapbox about social
Have
media.
one more comment. It says parameters must be set, though. Some parents are on their phones so much the children think it's all right to be on them just as much. That's another top. That's a whole nother workshop.
Yes,
It's a great comment.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we got a model, and I hear you. We can't tell the kids to be off the phones and not do social media, and then we on Candy Crush and watching TikToks and Instagram reels all day. I feel that. Absolutely. So these are just some activities which I know you all know, about creating normalcy and assisting with coping with trauma. So, like we mentioned earlier, sports, school activities, socializing with friends, including technology, family time, and connection. So, outside of just, I want to spend some time here because outside of just the connecting with friends, really creating some time, even if you are a foster parent and it's not your biological child, to connect with them. It is so important to create connection there. Therapy, I know in the Black and Brown communities, we do not like, I think it's getting better though, but we do not like to talk about therapy. I know when I was growing up, what I would hear my mama used to say, she said, well, people be wanting me to go to therapy, or they be talking about going to therapy, but the therapists be having issues, and how you gonna have issues and then try to tell me how to fix my issues? I ain't gonna tell you all my business, like that really was the mindset. Um, and so even when I decided to, pursue educational counseling, my family, because of the mindset in my community, was like, oh, so you're going to be a counselor. And so anytime I said anything about, well, have you considered this? Don't start therapizing me. I don't need your therapy. Don't psychoanalyze me. And so it really is kind of a stigma in the Black and Brown communities, but I can also tell you that it works. And it is critical that if we have an opportunity to introduce therapy to our kids, and even what we call mindfulness, is something that I like to teach the youth that I'm working with, which means taking that time to really relax and center and journal, whatever that may be, have some soft music playing in the background to really just kind of unwind. Um, it increases productivity and it provides another coping skill for people to learn. Room decorating. Y'all probably like, why is this included here? So what I didn't mention in my intro is that I also have a couple of foster kids that I have had stayed with me, and I've been a guardian too, and I still keep in touch with them. I've worked with a lot of foster kids, and I also have two foster sisters that grew up with me when I was in high school, or came to live with me when I was in high school. And both of them I still talk to. Those are my sisters. And so, so many stories I've heard with foster youth that I know. And then foster youth that I've just come in contact with where they were placed somewhere. When you are a foster youth and you've been torn away from your family, right? And you have no idea if you're going to go back to your family, your stuff is your life. It means everything to you. Your pictures, your clothes, no matter how, even if it's, kind of disheveled and, torn, or your clothes are, you know, um, used, whatever it is, that is their stuff. If you are a guardian or a foster parent, and when you take in a child, I really encourage you to allow them to create their space wherever, even if they're only going to be there, for a couple of weeks, right? Allow them to create their space. If they have pictures, let them put their pictures up. Get you some tape. Get some double-sided tape, man strips, or straight about messing up, but to create, put their pictures up. If they have posters, allow them to put them up. Um, Allow them to create that space or that corner of wherever they're staying in your home, um, be their little sanctuary for them. It is so important. I've had so many children share how they, went into a home, and if there's already biological children there, they get to have their space, but they don't. So their room is, very plain Jane. They can't put anything on the wall while the biological child has pictures and posters and things like that. So those are things I think sometimes parents just subconsciously don't think about, but it matters. Relating it to an intact family. So in my own home with my own kids, um, we had gone through a transition where we were moving. And so I kind of just took my time because had so much stuff going on. uh, my kids didn't really adapt until I allowed them to decorate the room. And nothing fancy, we was at Walmart getting the little $2.99 posters. But when I tell you they were excited to get their posters I ordered a couple of little LED lights that they could just put on their room. They was $9.99 and put on the wall in their room. Life was good. It changed their whole aura about our new home. Now it felt like home. So those types of little things, even if it's small, allow your kids to express themselves and create their own little safe space. Fitting in at school, physical appearance and grooming. This is another one. So I'm not saying, y'all, that we do $200 Nike suits and Air Jordans and, Air Force Ones and all that. But I am saying that y'all remember when you were kids, it was important to be able to fit in. And so to have shoes that weren't, broken through or weren't super dirty, or the whole, the soles weren't, all low and about to get a hole in it. To have clothes that looked newer, that didn't look old, to have a fresh haircut, right? To have your hair done in some sort of a way, it's so important for the kids to be able to fit in at school. They're already challenged enough with just being a teenager. Any kid, anywhere, teenagers being, going through that K through 12 stage, you're awkward, you're uncomfortable. It cannot be fun, right? But then if you add trauma to it, right, that's a whole nother layer of insecurity and frustration that the kid is trying to work through. Providing them with the ability to groom themselves well and that sort of thing really does matter. And I encourage you not to use that as a means of punishment if there's some behavioral issues. Okay, well, we're not going to go, get this or get that. Don't do that to the kids. take the time to create whatever your standard is going to be of, the necessities that they're able to have, and make sure that they're able to kind of seamlessly blend with where they're at. Okay, so now we're going to jump into some scenarios. Shabella, how much time do I have left?
About 25 minutes.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to jump into some scenarios. Okay, so scenario one, remember those three things we talked about earlier: benefits, concerns, and how can we eliminate or reduce concerns. So this is Jaden. Jaden is 12, and she's living with her foster mother and 2 siblings. Her grades are kind of average. They're not great, they're not horrible, they're just, average. And she has some mild behavioral issues. So that means she's just kind of talking back in class a little bit, every once in a while she kind of pops off. Jaden said, you know what? I want to be able to go to my friend's birthday party this weekend. What y'all think? You letting her go? Drop a 1 if you're letting her go, 2 if you're not letting her go. And then I want you to give me some comments and tell me why. How can we make that situation as normal as possible for her?
We have 1-1.
Okay, we letting her go. Even with the behavioral issues, y'all are good with it. She was popping off this week at school. Teacher called you and was like, Jaden's in here tripping. She won't focus. She's distracting the class. We still at a 1?
And the person said, yes, social pressure.
Okay. So what do y'all think? Would y'all have a conversation with Jaden about her behavior, or would you just let her roll? Give me some feedback on that.
So that person that said social pressure, she said that maybe she's thinking about home and thinking about mom. We have another person that said concern. The concern is the parents going to be there? Will drugs be there? Who else is going to be there?
Absolutely. And so vetting as a parent, right? Being able to vet out. And so that's what I said, what we were talking about earlier. How can we eliminate or reduce concerns? So allowing Jaden to go, okay, I'll consider it, but I have some questions. I need to speak to the parents. I need to know what the situation is going to be. And hello, for me, 12, I'm probably going to the party with you, or I'm at least staying for a minute. Because
that one, we had someone say I would attend.
Yes. Right. Like I'm popping in, and if the parent has an issue with me popping in, then that's all the more reason why you're not staying. So, okay, great. All right. So that's the first scenario. Let's go to scenario 2. Okay. This one we have Michael. Michael is 16. He's living with the Smith family. He is barely passing his classes. We got some concerns that he may not even graduate. And he is acting real teenager-ish. That's what I like to say, then you want to get them all in the collar. You want to get your knuckles right up under the chin and be like, what is going on with you? But we don't do that because we don't hurt the children. But I'm just saying in your heart, you like, I'm ready to get you, Michael, because you're acting a mess. So he's being real teenager-ish. He's having attitudes. He's talking back. He's slamming doors, when he's going in his room. Everything irritates him. He's smacking his lips, everything. All of that is happening. And then Michael says to you, you know what? I think I need a cell phone so that I can communicate with my friends. And I just got back in contact with one of my brothers that I was separated from when I was placed. And so he's wanting to reach out to me. And so he reached out to me on social media on my friend's phone. And so now, like, he gave me his information. I want to be able to communicate with him. What y'all think? We giving Michael a phone? Benefits, concerns, and how can we eliminate or reduce concerns?
We have someone that says yes with restrictions.
Nice. Tell me about those restrictions.
Well, I think one takeaway is we need to all call Apple and let them teach us how to shut phones down just like you did.
I was like, this can't be my story. Right. So we're gonna put some restrictions in place for Michael. I don't know, you
She
know.
said that call Apple. That's a restriction. She said call Apple. Someone says we as parents must remember that we have to give the children some leeway or else they will start hiding things, sneaking, or acting out.
Oh, that's so true. It's so true. And it is so hard because the worse they act out, the less leeway you want to give them. And so that's it. That's a tough conundrum, you know, situation to kind of be in as a parent, right? And so um, I agree, you know, with restrictions, but I think there's also another option for me as a parent. I'll be like, you know what, let's try this out first. How about you work on X, Y, or Z? Think of a scenario of something that you want them to work on. Give me your brother's phone number and you can start communicating with him first through my phone. Over the next month, if I see improvement in this area, then I will gladly get you a phone. You know, put some, you know, some give and take, some guidelines and accountability. Even though I'm saying listen to the kids, you know, and kind of give them leeway and things, we also want to hold them accountable. We just want to do it with love, right? And so, yeah, you can have the phone, but you can acting janky and real teenagerish. And so, um, we're going to inch our way into that. And one statement that I love to do with my kids, and it works, y'all. So write this down. You get to decide how you want this to look. When I tell them that, listen, their whole face changes. So I have an eighth grader that's about to go to high school. She's 14. And so sometimes she acts teenagerish. And so I got her progress report and I saw some marks on there I didn't appreciate seeing. And so I said, I want you to look at the bigger picture, sweetheart. You're 14 years old, you'll be 15 this year. You're about to start high school. You want to drive. You want a car. You're going to want to go to the football games. Aren't these all things in your future and in your high school career? And she's like, yes. Okay, sweetie. So listen, you get to choose, not me. I get to respond to whatever your choices are. But you get to choose what you would like your future high school self to look like and what your future high school life would look like. So if you want to drive, we want to teach you how to drive, you want to be able to drive my car, you want to be able to go to the games, you want to go to the prom, you want to do all these different things. I need your grades to be here. I need your attitude to be here. And I need your chores and responsibilities to be there. And if it's not, then you don't get to do those privileges. Point blank, period, at the end. But the beautiful part is you get to decide. Because I'm not at school with you every day. I can't do your homework and I can't check your attitude. So you get to choose how you want your life to look. I just respond to your choices. Baby, when I tell you the attitude changed, oh, it's my responsibility. Yes, honey, it's your responsibility. I don't have to do that for you, right? So throw the ball back in their court and hold them accountable to their behavior and I'm okay. Like you ain't even got to get mad. Don't even, I think it hits the kids different when you don't get mad. I'm not even mad. Okay, that was your choice. Here's my response. Carry on. I'm going on with my day. You already knew. I got to pull no punches, none of that. All right.
Someone that says, yes, make them work for it. And then
Yes.
we have someone that says, absolutely. And I think that's a really good thing that you're saying. You want to create the normalcy, you want to give them, those opportunities for activities. But I like to always say you have to be smarter than the fifth grader. And I
Mm,
think a lot of that in parenting requires for us to be able to tap into our own skills, those emotional intelligence skills, that self-regulation, that self-awareness, because they're watching how we behave. And like you said, you're cool, calm, collected, having the discussion, and then putting the ball back into their court and giving them the opportunities, because that really is teaching them, during these years. Life is about choices, and with every choice, there's consequences. So you're not just being very restrictive, but you're giving them the opportunity to learn responsibility. We can't expect our children to be responsible if we don't give them the opportunities to learn responsibility.
absolutely. And using those moments as teachable moments because they're going to screw stuff up and they're supposed to, we've all done it. And so allowing, instead of getting frustrated with them and like, okay, so this happened. What did you learn from this? And how can you help them navigate a lesson, out of those situations? Again, fully, but do it with love. Right. So this is Mariah. She is 17, and Mariah is living with Miss K and her two daughters. She will be graduating with honors from high school. And she also plays soccer. So she participates in a sport. She was allowed to do that. And she wants to attend the soccer scholarship ceremony. What do y'all think? Benefits, concerns, and how can we eliminate concerns? What are your thoughts about this one?
We have a yes. So we have one person that's going to allow her to go.
So I'm going to deepen the question. Should she go by herself?
Well, where's the ceremony at?
Oh, at the school.
And that's that. Nobody said that. That's my question. I need to know where
It's no funny stuff. The ceremony's at the school.
Okay, all right. Someone said benefit, she earned it.
Absolutely.
And someone said she seems responsible enough. We have another person that said, I would like to go, especially to help apply and to find out more about the scholarship. And then someone says, where will there be chaperones?
Okay, so yes, there will be chaperones because all the teachers and the coaches will be there, and it's a legit ceremony, y'all. It's not like a little raggedy one, over at the park. She said the kids are getting together. We're gonna do a quote unquote scholarship ceremony. No, it's the legit scholarship ceremony that she earned. So
And
I'm hearing.
someone said she is 17. She appears to be responsible. If she's graduating with honors, if she plays soccer, it would benefit her to attend. She may be able to get a scholarship too.
Awesome. Okay, so it looks like we all agree about Mariah attending the scholarship. And I heard one person say that they would probably attend with her. Okay, so good stuff. So this is Mariah. I want to give you a little bit of background about Mariah. Mariah came to me when she was in her first year of college. She actually went to college with my son. And so that's how I was introduced to her. She came to me in her first year of college. She had been in foster care. So I have this video that I asked her to create and share with you all, but it's about 15 minutes and it's really long. And so I'm only going to show you a portion of it, but I kind of want to give you a background of her story before I dive into the piece I want you to see. She'd been in foster care since she was 6, so about 16, 14 years, something like that. She has stayed between 6 and middle school. She had bounced around, I think, to 6 different homes. Um, she had 4 siblings that she was separated from when she entered into foster care. In between 6 and middle school, she did have a point where she was reconnected back with her mom. But then her mom, wasn't able to get herself together. And so she was placed again at 10. When she was placed again at 10, she was separated from her 2 younger siblings who were just babies. One was a newborn, and then the other one was a toddler. Um, and so they were placed initially together, but then a family decided that they wanted to adopt the smaller ones, but they didn't want to adopt Mariah because she was older and they just figured she was going to have some issues and they didn't want to take on that responsibility. So she was separated from her 2 younger siblings. Names changed and everything. So she didn't, to this day, hasn't had any interaction with them at all. Doesn't even know their names, their new names, their adopted names. And she had 2 older siblings who were close to aging out of the system. So they moved on and kind of did their thing. Both of them ended up in jail and have been in and out of jail, but she does have communication with them. Anybody know the percentage of foster youth that go on to college? Drop it in the chat. Take a guess for me.
Someone said 15%. Someone said maybe 20%.
All right, so the correct answer is 3%. 3% of foster youth actually make it to college, and it is less than that actually finish and complete college. Mariah is in that 3% that made it. When she started in middle school, she was placed with a family and she ended up staying there until she graduated high school. So she was with that family for about 8 years. And there was a cultural difference between her and the family. So that was a challenge because she's trying to have normalcy, right? But she can't because she doesn't look like them. So people are obviously asking her, well, how are you related and all that? So they always said that she was the cousin, right? That came to live with them, like a kind of like a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air situation, right? And so she was able to kind of to succeed and do well, and I'm very, very proud of her. But when I asked her to make this video for me, she immediately got emotional. And I kind of want to give you the context. So she looks very poised in the video, but she was up till about 3 or 4 in the morning taking the video because she couldn't get through talking about this, the normalcy piece, without crying. And so I just want to share that background with you because sometimes you need the context in order to kind of understand. She goes through a scenario or provides a situation similar to the scenarios that we shared, the third one that I shared about her graduating. And so I want to just share this piece with you because I think it'll give you some insight. So here we go. Be patient with me because I kind of have to move the cursor to get it to the right point of the video.
I want to share with you guys an experience where normalcy wasn't created again and how it made me feel. I remember my senior year of high school where I was awarded a scholarship where I was going to be acknowledged in my hometown. And I remember going to the scholarship dinner, and the recipients had to go to the back of the back of the room, so we could enter on the stage. And I remember this lady passing out a paper to the parents, and the paper asked questions like, what is your child's favorite food? What is your child's favorite color? What's their favorite candy? What are their passions? And I remember my foster mom pulling me from the back and asking me to fill out the paper because she didn't know any of those things. And that really was when reality hit me. And I had to take a step back and think, I've been living in this house for 8 years and don't even know my favorite color. You don't even know my favorite food. You don't even know my passions. And that hit me so hard because I knew her favorite food, I knew her favorite color, and I knew what she was passionate about, but she didn't know anything about me. And I thought that was just like the most bizarre thing for me because I've been living in this house for 8 years. How do you not know anything about me? And again, the reality is that there was no relationship being built in this foster home that I was living with. And that's how it truly affected me towards the end when I got the scholarship and she didn't know anything. And that really hurt my feelings. That really was very eye-opening to me. And yeah, I believe that's when things kind of went downhill. And I graduated high school and I went into college. And that was the last time that I heard from her. That was the last time we ever spoke when I graduated. And even on graduation, she had went with her and her family to come support me. And I remember being, down at the stage, I was walking across, they said my name, and I took a picture. And I remember looking up at the stage, like up, not up in the stage, but up in the audience. And I saw them leaving. And I remember getting a text message saying, oh, we saw you, walk across the stage. We'll see you at home. Make sure Emily and Cassandra take you home after. And I remember just crying in my friend's car because I was just so hurt. I was so excited that I graduated and I made it, and I was that percent that graduated high school, and I just remember just being so sad that I finally made it, and I thought this was the time I was going to be acknowledged and celebrated, and it wasn't. I found out later that night that my foster family went out to eat without me. And I ended up going out to dinner with my friends that night and her family. And I just remember feeling like, wow, I am a foster kid. Like, and I don't have a family. And that really affected me. And that was my reality. And I felt like I had to accept it. that I had no other choice. I couldn't go back in time and, you know, like redo it all. You know, that was just my reality.
So I wanted to share that that video with you all, just to give you some perspective. And like, you know, like I said in the beginning, I gave the disclaimer of, you know, I know that we have a variety of parents here watching this webinar and this presentation. And so you may not all be foster parents, but again, I just want to reiterate how small of a gesture, you know, just being present at the graduation and then staying the entirety of the graduation and going to dinner, you know, as a family after the graduation would have made all the difference in the world. Whether it's a foster family or whether it's an intact family, those types of things, like at the end of the day, as just people first, right? Those types of things matter to any of us. And so I want to let you all know Mariah is 21 now, and she is amazing. When I met her, she had got kicked out of school because she was not doing well academically, and she had got injured and lost her scholarship, her soccer scholarship. And so had to help her get back on track. And so she was able to do that. She went to community college and her class transferred to a university is at one of our Cal States here in California in her third year to become a social worker so that she can assist other babies like herself and really shed some light on the system, you know, and making sure that those kids can have a better experience. But I wanted to just at least share a piece of her story with you. But she is that less than 3%. And so if we can, as parents, just think about how we can create normalcy, sit down. One of the things she says at the end, she says when kids are placed, they have no idea if they're going to see their family again. They have no idea. They're often too young to understand, or even if it is explained to them, they just don't understand what's happening. And so they're traumatized. Find out about their story. If it's your biological kids, they have a whole world view. Sit down with your kids and find out what happened today at school. What are they interested in? Why are they sad? Why are they happy? You know, engage them in those conversations so that you can really create some meaningful memories. And even if it is that a child is placed with you just for a couple of weeks, I cannot tell you how many youth I have worked with where they have said, but this one home, I was only there for a minute, but I knew that they cared about me. And here's what I learned there. And they will take that moment and they will carry that with them for the rest of their lives. It's crucial. So with that, thank you so much for, I'm sorry, hold on. I'm trying to get to the end of my, oh, it thinks I want to do, okay, well, I'm lost. I'm like, how do I get to the next slide? Oh, here we go. So with that, thank you everybody for allowing me the opportunity to, you know, speak to you today. I want to open the floor up for any questions or comments, and then that'll wrap it up for me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That was such a profound video. And, you know, as public servants, and we are part of this system, I think that it's important for us to, you know, have these conversations. We're not perfect and we are all trying. And as Angie said, you may not be a foster parent and have foster children in your home, but it's so important, parents, to really, really, really have discussions with your kids. Be involved, be active in their lives, and try to help them and get them connected with these different experiences and activities, so that they do have that normalcy. It is just so important. I know for me, I tried to keep my kids engaged in different activities, whether it was sports or different clubs in the school. And yes, it's crazy. Let's just all be honest. It is so hard trying to manage that, especially if you are a single parent. But even if it's two parent homes, we have a lot of hats that we have to wear. But that's where time management and structure comes in. For those of you who have multiple children, for me, my whiteboard was my savior. I kept everything on the whiteboard and just really had to keep track of who needed to be where. And it was times where I was exhausted from, going to basketball practice, track meets, cheerleading, different responsibilities of getting kids. And then let's not, ignore, it's expensive. It costs money to keep kids engaged in these activities, but the result, and the benefit is so far greater than those sacrifices of time and resources. So we have someone that said many foster children fall through the cracks, and some flourish despite them. Absolutely, absolutely. Someone says National Single Parents Day is March 21st. I did not know it was a National Single Parent Day. Y'all, we be having some holidays, don't we? And so I Empower, which was a partner from last week, said they are giving away gifts to those that sign up and share a positive benefit to being a single parent. So you guys go ahead and check out I Empower. They are trying to honor single parents. And I love that it didn't say single moms, because there is some dads out there that are doing it, and they are raising their babies. So go ahead and check out I Empower. We will post that post the site on the Facebook Live. All right, any questions, guys? Any questions, comments? Great information, Angie. Great. All right, we only have a few more moments. Let me check out the Facebook Live. Okay, so I have 3 questions for you guys, and just FYI, for those of you who have been joining us for a while, and you answered questions, I have the PO in, so I will be getting the gift cards. Someone says, I've been contemplating over the years to be a foster parent. What are some great suggestions? I'm thinking about teens. So really quickly, guys, let me just tell you, we need you. We need you. We need foster parents, and I can speak for local, Toledo, Lucas County, and Angie is all the way over in the West Coast in California. And I can speak for both of us in saying, we need you. Unfortunately, there are far too many children that are in foster care, and a lot of people think that they have to be perfect, and you don't. It's a process. It is a process, but if you have it in your heart, please contact your local agency to find out more information in terms of becoming a foster parent. And I really, really, really would like to say, and I think Angie just put it in the chat, consider the teens. I know everybody wants the babies. And if that's your heart's desire, there's no judgment, because all children need it. But we do need foster parents that are willing to open up their hearts and open up their home to our teens that are in care. It is such a rewarding thing, and they need you. We need you. So contact Lucas County if you're local, if it's something that you've been thinking about and you want to, just ask some questions. We do have a whole recruitment unit. You can call the agency. The main number is 419-213-3200. Sherry Dunn, she is our supervisor over recruitment. She would love to, give you the information, everything that you need to know, all of the expectations. You also can go to lucaskids.net. I believe that they have some information on there in terms of the process. It is a process, but it's worth it. And so this is a call to action. We need you to create some normalcy for these children. So with that being said, question number 1. Name 2 reasonable parenting considerations. Angie talked about it. It was a slide, and she had several things that was on that slide, and she identified them as reasonable parenting considerations. Are you guys taking notes? Give me 2 of them. Somebody said benefits and concerns. That was on there. So it might be a bad question. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that to you. Let me just identify who the person was. But what I was looking for was age appropriate, risk, interest, safety, positive impact, and then normal activity. All right, so what are, I'm just gonna say 1. What is a benefit of normalcy? Can you guys tell me what is one of the benefits of normalcy? Yes. All right, someone said security for the child. Absolutely. Someone said positive connection. That is correct. Builds a child social network and social connections. All of those are great responses. You guys know we go with the first correct one. So let me just see who that was. Okay. And then finally, our final question is share one takeaway, something that resonated with you, something that you are going to try to incorporate in your everyday life. Oh, okay. We have someone that said, hold on, possibilities exist. So the HOPE acronym resonated, and that is so true. Children need normalcy, being open with the youth to allow them to flourish and to reach their full potential, and also the HOPE. Yes, I really like that HOPE acronym as well. All right, guys, that is our time. Thank you guys so very much. We will be back here for our final week of our current cohort. It will be week number 3 for resources and support. We're going to bring back one of our presenters who have came in the past from the Moms Mentoring circle. She is a mom coach, and I always tell her they didn't have mom coaches when I was mommying. So she is a mom coach. Miss Deborah Porter will be back, and she has some additional information for you guys. So thank you guys so very much. Angie, thank you. It was so great doing this with you. Thank you for all the great information. It was a wonderful session, and I appreciate you getting up early at 7 o'clock in the morning to be able to present today. Someone said, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Have a great weekend. All right, guys. I think the sun is shining. I don't know if it is fooling me yet because it might still be cold out there, but I'm going to try to get out and enjoy this Saturday. On behalf of our executive team at Lucas County Children's Services, as well as our planning committee for Parent Empowerment Institute, I thank you guys, and I hope that you come back and join us again next Saturday. Have a good day.